Kind of curious that Viltrox are ramping up their autofocusing Z-mount options at a time when their ass is getting sued by Nikon.
Yep, you might have seen it in the news. Nikon are taking Viltrox for a little legal dance in the courts. But before that reaches a conclusion, Viltrox thought it'd be only appropriate to bring out a new Z-mount 50mm f1.4 lens.
That's massive though, look at that. 51.4, let's take the hood off. That's almost unreasonable, isn't it?
The kind of inflated mass that performance-enhancing injections could only dream of attaining. However, today we're not after streamlined appendages, just curious about what the photo performance perks are inside of this lens. And whereas Dan is keen to get to grips with the non-licensed lens, I'm vlogging this with Viltrox's green-lit glass, their first L-mount Alliance lens, the 16mm f1.8.
Filming myself with Viltrox 16mm f1.8 on the Panasonic because they are actually part of the Alliance, the L-mount Alliance, so it's legit. It should work perfectly.
Apart from the gargantuan size, the 16mm is an excellent autofocusing ultra-wide lens. Great image quality, low distortion, and quick to focus. And the good news is that the 50mm f1.4 is quick at focusing too.
It is amazingly quick. I mean, the speed at which it acquires focus. Wait. Look at that sequence, right? That's pretty impressive. Yeah, if I were Nikon, I'd be worried.
Nikon might not want to hear these good bits too. This lens shows very low distortion, seemingly no visible chromatic aberration, and with a large aperture 50mm, what is incredibly important is the way it renders those shallow depth of field images. And this lens doesn't disappoint.
Well, the bokeh looks lovely.
The bokeh is ever so smooth, really gorgeous. Towards the edges it does show some optical vignetting, that's what gives the cat's eyes bokeh shapes, which some may or may not like, it's really down to preference. And that brings us to what you might perceive as the bad bits.
I mean, it's quite flary. It's got a very rainbow flare.
I like that.
In typical lens tests or reviews, flaring is often considered undesirable, but it really should be up to the person buying it to figure out whether it appeals to them or not.
I quite like the flare, actually.
Well, the good news is that if you love rainbow flaring, their 16mm f1.8 has it too, and it flares quite a bit at moderate aperture settings. In fact, I found that quite a few Viltrox lenses have a tendency to flare.
Holy crap, that flares like... wow. The flaring is incredible on that.
I mean, their lenses could be a Wikipedia for everything lens flare related. It has it all.
Essentially, it's a great lens. Focus is quick, bokeh's nice. Doesn't have the sharpness in a minute, but I can see the bokeh's nice.
The out of focus bits are nice and soft, but the in focus bits at f1.4 are super soft too. I mean, that could be quite useful for portraitists. See, the thing is, there's not really many bad lenses around, just lenses that are suited for one style or not. Having said that though, I think I'd be mad to recommend this lens. Not because of the cost, it's not expensive, although no small amount either. Nikon's 50mm f1.8 is cheaper, as well as their more budget-friendly 50mm f1.4 too. It's just the potential, very real consequences if Viltrox do lose the court case. And they probably will. And in which case, the size and weight of the lens might actually be beneficial once you update your Nikon's firmware or decide to buy a new Nikon, and then you're left with using your Viltrox as a lovely paperweight. But seriously, since their first AF lens in 2019, Viltrox has been the most prolific of any Chinese lens brand at releasing non-licensed autofocusing lenses. Viltrox are surely being sued to be made an example of. Still, that hasn't discouraged them.
I find it incredibly impressive that Viltrox are putting out a lot of, especially auto-focusing products. So here, Dan is setting up this Nexus focus. It essentially turns your PL mount cine lenses into auto-focusing E-mount ones.
Although it's got to be said that since then, Tilt have launched their own one, which has manual focus override. The Viltrox doesn't have that at the moment, but it's still easy to be at least a little impressed by what Viltrox is doing.
I quite like Viltrox lenses now. They're really not bad. I feel like I'm turning into Dan whenever I say, oh, they're really good. I really like them. They call these air lenses.
What?
It's air-like. So 14mm f4, 9mm f2.8, that's crop. But actually, they're really quite good.
So which one's that?
This is the Viltrox 14mm f4. It's pretty cool. A little bit too wide for the street, but it's fun. It's a good lens. It's really compact as well. Look at that. And if you want wide-angle Sony, then you have to get something which is a little bit faster than this, obviously more expensive, and it'll be bigger than this. This is compact for 14mm on mirrorless for Sony. It's fantastic.
Their cheaper stuff doesn't feel as low budget as other low budget Chinese brands' lenses.
Alright, so I've got a Viltrox 14mm on just to compare to TTR lens. This time of the year, there's some cool long shadows and reflections and stuff.
Comparing their respective 40mm AF lenses, I feel like TT Artisan's 40mm doesn't focus as fast and it's not as sharp wide open and at equivalent larger apertures as the Viltrox. The Viltrox is quick enough for street photography and the images look great. I like it a lot.
It's just like Viltrox have come out from seemingly nowhere over the past few years.
But one court case decision could easily make things quite different. My guess is as good as anybody's about how different it might be. Just know that if you fancy one of these lenses, or this one, unless you're an L-mount user, nothing really is 100% guaranteed. What might seem like a great idea now might not seem so much if it ever gets blocked out in the future.